Very good evening. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita Satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we'll continue from chapter 2 where we stopped in our last satsang, that is Sankhyayoga, the yoga of knowledge, where Lord Shri Krishna is describing about the marks of the man of stable mind and his glories. So let us continue. Chapter 2 verse 65. But before that, a quick recap about what we learnt in the last satsang. So Lord Shri Krishna has been imparting the most esoteric knowledge to Arjuna, how to live the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna himself. Bhagavad Gita or the Gita is nothing but it is talking about the way of life. How do you live in this world? What is the way of conducting yourself? How do you perform your duties and how do you be in love and devotion? So he's talking about here, the last satsang we understood that how it is very important for a sadhaka to be self-controlled. And when he's self-controlled, even though his senses come in contact with the sense object, he's not actually enjoying them. The word enjoying is what I described, right? I explained to you what does Lord Shri Krishna means by the word enjoyment. See, because in the normal sense, see, English is a very funny language because you don't have an alternate to the word of enjoyment to describe that. The enjoyment is nothing but you're just offering that sacrifice to the God, whether it is in your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ear. All these are, literally the entire body comprises of the God and goddesses, which we learned in my Devi Mahatmyam Satsang in the Parayan. Now, the word enjoyment here is not about the way you look at enjoyment is in the material worldly sense, because it's about titillating the senses. In this case, it's not about titillating the senses at all. It is about saying that I admire the beautiful creation of the Lord. You just offer the sacrifice, but you're not dwelling in that sense object, or you're not enjoying with your mind, or you're not, culminating your mind or your entire physical being is not getting into a culmination of action, either of possessing that, owning that, or whatever that end, aspiration or fulfillment of your desire is. So here there is no titillation of senses that is happening. Your mind is actually not dwelling in that object. So that is the description of enjoyment. You can go listen to my last satsang where I have explained in detail. And then what does he attain? And then he's talking about how your senses become disciplined. They are in discipline. And because of which you are free from the pairs of opposites, the likes and dislikes. And when you achieve all of this, then you attain the placidity of mind. Where your mind, it's like a river, where the still river, or not a still river, or a lake. It's the water is still in the lake. But when you just drop a stone, what does happen? There's a it ripples, right? There's a repulsion that is created. So what happens after some time? Again, it goes back in that still state. That's called the placidity of mind. But here, we're talking about even if the sense objects, is put into that the lake, your mind is not having a reaction to it. It is placid at all times. That is what we have to achieve. So let us continue now, verse 65 onwards, chapter 2. With the attainment of such placidity of mind, all his sorrows come to an end. And the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind, soon withdrawing itself from all sides, becomes firmly established in God. You know what? Lord Shri Krishna is teaching Arjuna. He's actually imparting the same lesson in different ways. But yet Arjuna doesn't seem to be understanding at all. Why doesn't he understand? What is so difficult in understanding this truth? Imagine, in the beginning of chapter 2 itself, Lord Shri Krishna has already covered all of this. He talked about equanimity of mind. He was talking about saying to Arjuna, be self-controlled. And he also told that you have to strive to attain the yoga of equanimity, which is the oneness with the divine Lord. That is what he's saying. But Arjuna's question is, again he's talking about what are the marks of a man with a stable mind. Lord Shri Krishna has already given this knowledge. He has already explained to Arjuna. But why is he not able to understand? He's asking the same question over and over again. And the Lord, without getting frustrated, he understands that, his mind is not able to absorb that lessons that is being imparted. Why? Because the mind is turbulent. We are not able to accept. It's not able to fix. It's, and then it's constantly in that turbulence, right? It's running hither thither. It's like a wild horse. You're unable to control the mind. What is missing? Control. And what did Lord teach him? Arjuna, you be self-controlled. It's very simple. But why don't we understand? Because we're unable to control. Why? Because we don't practice. Sadhana is missing. See, everything has to be done simultaneously. You have to study, you have to imbibe, you have to apply that knowledge, and plus you have to practice. And striving to attain that goal is very important. Without a goal setting, you can't reach that. See, having lofty goals is one aspect, but at least you will know, okay, this is my goal. I have to, work getting towards that path. So you have a direction to follow. You have a focus in your life. But if you don't have that, then how will you do anything in life? That's a question you have to ask yourself. So here also Arjuna is struggling because Lord Shri Krishna's answer earlier, all the explanation he has given, it's not percolating down because we don't allow our mind, we don't allow, our mind doesn't allow us to understand, to listen to what is being imparted and then imbibe. But who's not putting the effort? It is Arjuna. It's not about Lord Shri Krishna. He says to Arjuna very clearly, he says, Arjuna, you be self-controlled. You put that effort. You have to do everything. It's not about somebody is going to do that for you. Even as a Lord Shri Krishna, he's only hand-holding him. He's there with him. He's only a charioteer. He's taking him in the right direction. What is Lord Shri Krishna doing here? He's giving him the right knowledge and he's got the right tools. Lord Shri Krishna has given him the right tools, and the third is taking him in the right direction. Isn't Lord Shri Krishna the charioteer? Yes, the God is there to take you in the right direction, but if you don't perform your duties of lifting your bow and arrow and shooting, then how is anything going to happen? Even if you're in the right direction, but if you don't do, you don't do your duties, then it's very difficult. You're not going to be able to win in this world. So that is exactly what Lord Shri Krishna is teaching Arjuna. So Arjuna, please remember, with the attainment of such placidity of mind, all his sorrows come to an end. So first, what do you need to attain? Placidity of mind. Once you attain the placidity of mind, then only your sorrows will come to an end. This is a very lofty goal. I hope we all make effort to achieve this. And the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind, soon withdrawing itself from all sides, becomes firmly established in God. What is it getting firmly established in God? That is called yoga, union with the divine, oneness with the divine. And that is what you have to achieve, a state of, oneness. That you're always lost in yourself alone. You're one with the divine Lord. Then nothing disturbs you. But first, placidity of mind. But achieving the placidity of mind itself is a very big task. Please remember, it's not easy. This is very easy said than done. Like my Krishna Guruji asked me this morning, why is that, everybody has that capability, knowledge, understanding, but why are they not motivated to do? There are very, very handful of people in this world who are self-driven. They're motivated on their own. They don't need any motivation from outside. But the rest of the world needs motivation from outside. My Krishna Guruji relentlessly motivates every single disciple and devotees of his, every single day. He doesn't stop. Like Lord Shri Krishna, he also doesn't stop at all. I don't know how he goes on and on and on and on, and sometimes tireless. We become tired, or at least I become tired. I'm like, I wonder, how do you do this? Don't you get bored? Don't you get frustrated? That look, nobody's listening to you. Like, I'm sure Lord Shri Krishna must have got frustrated with Arjuna, teaching the same thing, and yet he doesn't understand. And we're still in chapter 2 alone. Imagine, 18 chapters, and finally after 18 chapters, then Arjuna lifts his bow and arrow and shoots. That's a tough thing. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we do not want to do. And this, reluctance comes because of many factors. And one of the biggest factors is it's our own mind. The mind is constantly pulling us down. It's always showing you the downside of life. It is always showing you you cannot, everything is negative in this world. There are a lot of things which is not good. There are likes, dislikes, some people you like, some people you dislike, that hate, love, all this is conflicting things. The pairs of opposites is what keeps pulling you down. And yesterday my Krishna Guruji had posted a very beautiful post on Facebook. He says that, your excreta is what you excrete, your excretion is food for other plants and some creatures. And for them that food is yummy, Yeah, it sounds gross. But yeah, that's exactly. But what is gross to you is a food for someone else. So is it your mind, or is it that object which is wrong or bad, the way we look at it? It's about our mind. The likes and dislikes exist within us. And who has made it like that? It is we who have made it like that. But if you go and look at some of these, great ascetics and some of these aghoris who practice, the tantra method, it's not, again, when I'm using the word tantra, let me be very clear. We're talking about a method where you have to overcome this likes and dislikes. They practice some of the things in that, where they apply the ash of a dead body, So why is that done? So that you achieve that, that state of feeling no difference. You achieve that state of equanimity. There is no likes or dislike in their world. So that is what they practice, and that's a beautiful sadhana. But obviously, people do misconstrue that as well, and they kind of exploit that knowledge in different ways. So we are not going into that. We're just talking about why they practice that kind of a method. What is it they're trying to achieve? Nothing. They're trying to achieve to attain that equanimity of mind, where there is no like and no dislike, whether it is food or the muck. Both is one and the same. And what is good to you may not be good to somebody else. But does it mean that that object or that thing is bad? No. What you dislike is a like to another person. What you like is not it's a dislike to somebody else. The person might not be liking it. So where it all lies, the factor called mind. The likes and dislikes is only because of you. It is purely based on your own senses. What you have, what you have grown up with. See, the moment we are born in a certain family, we are living a certain way of life, and we believe that is how our life is to be, and that is what is right. Who has defined this right and wrong? It's a question always my Krishna Guruji will ask. Do you actually know what is the right knowledge? And that's the most important thing which we don't know. And today we are learning. Lord Shri Krishna imparts most important lesson is the right knowledge. He's teaching Arjuna how to learn. Because Arjuna also don't have this knowledge. Likewise, we have come from a very cocooned environment, and we only believe that is all is our world. It's like a frog which lives in a well and thinks that is all its world is all about. But it has never come out to see how big the world is. And that is the way we have trained our mind to be. And then what happens, when you get out in the world, when you're given an opportunity to grow, to get, you have been given an opportunity to get that exposure, we resist. We bring in our pettiness from where we come from, and we put it around the people around us, or we try to use that yardstick to judge the world, which is wrong. And that is why my Krishna Guruji will always teach, you need to keep your mind open. The universe is unfathomable. The kind of opportunity that exists is beyond your ken and understanding, your human mind's ken and understanding. So you need to always give an opportunity for the universe to work magic around for you and around you. But for which first you have to let go of your past, let go of your future, live in the present. Bring in that ability to wanting to learn. You have to become humble. See, the only time when you will be able to learn and evolve is when you have the humility. My Guruji will use various methods to teach. Why does he do that? The reason why he does that is because you have to become a sponge. You have to become like, that being who just wants to learn. You have to absorb everything. But the moment you bring in your ego, don't tell me like this, don't teach me like this. You can't tell your master how to teach you, right? Then you're never going to get that knowledge. Please remember, it's always said, moksha moolam gurur krupam. The guru tests you constantly is testing you, your behavior, your conduct, the way you speak, the way you do things, all that tendencies of yours, he always brings out. What he's doing is, he says, no, it's an acid wash. He's purifying you, because only with purification of your heart, your mind, and surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Guru can you even evolve on that path. Otherwise, it is extremely difficult. But for that, you have to go through this purification process, and that purification process is very difficult. It's like, imagine, the diamond is being chipped by the lapidarist, and what happens is, when he chips, it hurts the diamond quite a bit. But believe me, once he finishes that chip, don't you give the best luster? Are you not being admired by everybody? Then you will be the one who's going to be adorned by Lord Shri Krishna. You become that kaustubh which he wears. You have to first become so beautiful and pure that the Lord is able to adorn you. That is what you have to become. But to becoming that is not easy, and for which you have to go through that painful existence. That process of learning is very tough. It doesn't happen easy. No learning is so easy, but you have to really work hard in becoming that beautiful being who you truly are. So what happens is, yesterday my Krishna Guruji was teaching me something. He says the knowledge can only come when you have humility. Humility is a very important word. The moment we have our ego or arrogance, believing that, oh, I know too much. We have two kinds of an ego. One is an inflated ego, one is a deflated ego. And please remember, the deflated ego is far dangerous than the inflated ego. Inflated ego is, oh yeah, I know, I am the greatest. I have everything. I have no knowledge, that arrogance, the ego of knowledge, the ego that I know too much, all that exists. But the deflated ego is feeling miserable. Oh, I don't know anything. I'm a small being. I am a very small person. You're constantly thinking the world is against you. Somebody is always saying something bad about you. Then you're never going to learn. Your mind is already shut down. Your mind is shut up. It shut itself to the fact of receiving the knowledge. You make judgments. Then knowledge cannot come to you at all, because you've already shut your mind. The shutting of the mind happens because you're feeling that I come from a very small place, or I come from a big place where I have not learned. It's about the small and the big. It's always about comparison. Wherever you come from, it doesn't matter. You come from, like my Guruji will always say, everybody comes from one gutter only. Everybody's come from there. Because everybody is an ignorant being. So what does it make, whether you're living in a palace or you're living in a hut? Equally, both are ignorant beings. You're a little highly sophisticated, you might be not sophisticated. That doesn't make any difference to anyone. But here we're talking about, how do you learn? The ability to learn will happen the moment you open your mind to receiving that knowledge. And doesn't mean knowledge has to be given in the way you want to hear it. It doesn't mean that the teacher has to conform to the student's ways. It doesn't work at all. My Krishna Guruji will teach in his own way to each one. And the methods used are varied. And it's very powerful. It's very tough, the kind of methods he uses. Why he does that is to see how good you are. See, when you have to serve the purpose of the Divine Lord, he wants the best of the best of the best disciples with him, the people with him, who will be able to carry forward his, legacy and the work he has, ordained for us to do in this world. So they will have to carry forward. But for carrying forward that, you need to be very good. If there is even one, we'll say if the foundation is weak, the entire temple will collapse. If the one person becomes a spoke in the wheel, then the entire thing definitely collapses. So how do you perform the task? Then the whole thing gets destroyed. So for which he has to select people, everybody has to fall in place. Those who have to be on the journey have to be very good, enduring, forbearance, fortitude. All of this, are the qualities one need to have. So that has to be learned. So he's always going to test everybody, where they stand and how they need to evolve. And that's a self-effort, let me tell you. You have to strive harder. And if you can't strive, then you can't be in that whole game. You just cannot be in that journey at all. Then you have to give up. You have to be very clear. No, I can't take this. I just want to give up. And you will have to walk out. That's what happens. Many people who are unable to, live through that toughness, they will just fall off. See, it's like I don't know if you've watched this beautiful movie. It's called The Officer and a Gentleman. The way the way he gets trained from his officer, it's so powerful. It's, he puts him through the tough training. That is what makes him, good in his job. He becomes a very good, the person who has to serve in the army, and he becomes that because of his trainer, the one who trains him. The officer trains him a lot, and he puts him through all those conditions so that he can come out that in and be successful and win. He can be that indomitable spirit. That is what it is. But what happens to us? We are weaklings. We can't show our weakness. We have to overcome our weakness. We have to overcome our fears and then face life head on. One beautiful lesson, Sai Baba says in his Poti, why fear when I'm here? Today my Krishna Guruji also was saying, Jesus tells his disciple that I lift you and I'm walking that path for you. I'm just carrying you. You're not even walking. That's what it is. The God handholds you. He's walking that path for you. He will take you to your destination safely. But you have to journey that path. Journeying is your job. He's always going to have your back. Please remember this much and have that conviction. So to attain the placidity of mind, you have to go through that process. It doesn't come overnight. Again, I'm telling you. Until you don't achieve this, you can't evolve in your path. And the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind, soon withdrawing itself from all sides, becomes firmly established in God. We've understood this, right? So once you withdraw everything, your intellect is withdrawn, your senses are inwards, then you're firmly established in God. Then no matter whatever task, you're performing your duties selflessly. So what happens? You do nishkama karma. Then you're not doing it for you. You're serving it for the divine Lord. You're serving his purpose. Please remember. Then that I doesn't exist. You're only doing selfless service. You have been given the job by the divine Lord. You just have to do that job. You're not bothered about the outcomes. You're not bothered about anybody. You're not bothered about your likes and dislikes. You have a cause and you're very focused in that cause. But to attain that state is not a joke. You have to go through that arduous effort. You have to go through that process. You have to strive hard. You have to put arduous effort. Please remember, it is not easy at all. Again, there's a beautiful story about Prabhupada. How he journeyed, how he established ISKCON. How he wrote the stories of Lord Shri Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam, how he got the book printed. You must go study about it. You should go. And you have to go through that, the kind of life. You have to learn about the kind of journey he has been through. It's not been easy for him. He has not had it easy. But you know what? His faith in his God was the ultimate. His guru had told him many years ago, but it took him, it was only at 68 he started. And only then did he evolve. But everything happens at its perfect timing, at God's appointed timing. So you need to become ready from within. Till you're not ready, you cannot handle responsibilities. It is all about responsibility, because then you're no more living for yourself. You're living for a cause. You're living for serving the purpose of the divine Lord, and you're living for this world alone. So your goal becomes bigger and much bigger. Then you shoulder that responsibility. You know what? When you do things for others, it's the most beautiful thing. It's, doing things for you, everybody can. We are always looking at, I, me, myself. What do I want? I want this, I want that, I want that. But when you do it for others, the sweetness in that is far greater, because you're serving the divine Lord. When you serve others, you're serving God through that. Okay, so please understand and evolve. It's tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you can do it. If you have a will, there's always a way. And when you have the grace of the divine Lord, why fear? He will very smoothly sail you through that path. So let us continue with the next verse. That is verse 66. He who has not controlled his mind and senses can have no determinate intellect nor contemplation. Without contemplation, he can have no peace. And how can there be happiness for one lacking peace of mind? Oh my God. I think all 99.9999% of the people fall under this category. What is he saying? He who has not controlled his mind. So one who has not controlled his mind and senses can have no determinate intellect. Determinate intellect, one which is very determined. You know what? If you cannot have a controlled mind, if you have not controlled your mind, then, and the senses, most important, all these while Lord Shri Krishna is only teaching Arjuna how to control his senses, mind. He's only telling how the wise people live, marks of the stable, marks of a man, of a wise man who has have a stable mind. That is what he's teaching here. And how do you do it is what he's taught. And now he's saying, if you don't have, then what happens? This is even more tougher. He who has not controlled his mind and senses can have no determinate intellect. What does that mean? Oh my God, you see everybody, they're all, they don't have focus. Today, one thing that is missing from majority of the people, that's again 99.99% of the people, is a focus. Because we are not focused. We are unable to focus at all. In Mahabharata, when Arjuna and all the Pandava brothers and Kauravas were, getting trained under their guru Dronacharya, in the art of war. And at that time, Dronacharya tells his students, his disciples, I want you to, shoot. No, first he says, I want you to shoot the eye of the bird. But before that, he keeps the bird above and then he asks everybody a question. What do you see? Okay. Now everybody comes and gives different answers. Somebody says, I see, the bird and the tree. Somebody says, I see this, I see that, I see that. Finally, when the question was asked to Arjuna, what do you see there? And when he shows them upstairs, the bird is kept upright. So Dronacharya, when he asks, what do you see, Arjuna? Arjuna is the only one who answers, I see the eye of the bird. What does that tell you? That's focus. That single pointed devotion, that laser focus is what you need to have. Your goal, your eyes have to be only set on the goals. Don't get distracted by what you see around. Like, everybody else got distracted by the trees around, the leaves and everything else. They said, they didn't say the eye of the bird. They said, I can see the bird. They said, I see the trees around the bird. They said many different answers. They gave different answers. But only Arjuna, his focus was very clear. I need to shoot my mark is the eye of the bird. So his focus was laser sharp. Like that, we have to also set our eyes on the goal alone and not bothered about the distraction that exists around us. But what happens to a normal human being? We get distracted very easily. The distraction is so easy. Our focus is lost in no time like that. So we are not able to win in this world. That is why 99% of the people, 99.99% of the people are not successful. Success is, it's just a momentary thing in everybody's life. Whatever the success you think you have achieved is only the part of your karma. Everything, this body, the journey that you're going through in this life is only a repayment. Like whatever you have to get as per the prarabdha karma, you will anyways get it. But for somebody who is a winner, who's a go-getter, he is going to be focused like this. And that focus is very important. So what can happen here is, he who has not controlled his mind and senses can have no determinate intellect, nor contemplation is possible. So you're not even contemplating. See, knowledge comes to us. We listen to a lot of things, we are reading, knowledge comes to us in different ways. But what happens to us? We are not focused. We are not, we don't listen enough. And then what happens when you don't listen? When you don't listen, you're not going to be able to absorb the knowledge, and then contemplation can never happen. So the most important things which you have to go through as you journey, when you are learning is, one is Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasan, which means you have to listen, you have to, meditate, and you have to contemplate, and then you have to meditate on the knowledge, whatever you have understood. And till such time, you can't have the fructification of knowledge within yourself. And then that understanding, that fructification of knowledge means you have been able to apply that knowledge. You will be able to apply that knowledge in your life, in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day existence, you will be able to apply. So when you are applying whatever you have learned, you will evolve and you will go deeper and deeper and deeper in that subject. But now what happens? Forget about it. We don't even, listening is a far off thing. We don't even hear. Like this morning, my Krishna Guruji was giving few numbers. So of course, I heard it. I listened to everything that he said, but I forgot in no time. So he said, no, you're not listening. I heard only. So what happens to my mind? My mind is not grasping everything properly. Why does that happen? It's because we're not training our mind enough to listen effectively. Effective listening is very important. And it's not about just hearing. So you have to train. How does the mind get trained? It's only when you practice. Consciously, you have to strive to practice. Until you don't do that, then you can't achieve. So one who has not able to control his mind and senses doesn't have a determinate intellect, nor can he contemplate. And then what happens? So without contemplation, he can have no peace. So without contemplation, you can't have peace, because that understanding is not coming. Like a simple example, simple and stupid example. If somebody tells you, no, don't get angry, don't react. There is no point in getting angry over stupid things. But that's a very simple lesson, that I don't have to react to everything that is there around me. I don't have to react to some people's stupidity. Why am I even getting into somebody's mind's muck? Why am I getting into their muck? Why am I doing this? It's very simple understanding, but yet do you think you understood? No, you don't. Why? Because we don't contemplate on these teachings. Our contemplation doesn't happen at all. We just hear. And our mind is not, we are not being able to control our mind and senses. So the moment you see something, hear something, the moment the senses come in contact with the sense object, the reaction happens. Because you don't have that control over your mind and senses, and the determinate intellect is not there. Because of which, contemplation of the knowledge has not happened at all. So then what happens? And then without contemplation, you cannot have peace. No peace. You know what? You're always frustrated, you're irritated, your mind is turbulent, you don't know what to do, you're confused. Don't you go through this day in and day out, and then you don't know what decisions to take? Then whatever decision that you might take, you will end up taking all wrong decisions. Because your mind, you don't have a determinate intellect which is going to give you the right guidance. It's not going to make you go through that right direction. It's not going to take you on the right direction at all. And then what happens? No peace. There's no contemplation happening. There's no peace because of that. And peace means what? That calmness within yourself. Being very calm and peaceful within yourself. No, you're frustrated, you're irritated, you're agitated. You don't know what to do. And then many a time we bark at others with our own frustrations. We misbehave. We say bad things to other people. We take somebody's anger and throw it on somebody else. This is a very, it is actually proved in our scriptures as well. It's a very beautiful scripture on Guru I was reading, on the qualities of a Guru and how do you learn under a real master. And in that, one most important lesson which was imparted is that when your Guru is giving you the knowledge and you're teaching, we have to first give up our ego, arrogance and all and come to the Guru with absolute humility, and humbleness. But what happens is, when you meet the Guru, you become naked. Again, like yesterday, in the last satsang, I was talking about how Lord Shri Krishna, tells the gopis that you have to now come out of the river, come to me naked with your hands, lifting your hands up, raising your hands up. You have to come with the folded hands. Raise your folded hands up and then come, I will give it to you. And he's sitting on the tree. But what does this mean? Naked doesn't mean physically naked. It means the naked, the word like I described, I even explained many times. It's not the way crass human beings think, oh look, Lord Shri Krishna telling the gopis come naked. That is your gutter mind, sir. Lord Shri Krishna is not talking about that. It's a way to teach. These truth are codices. This knowledge is in codices. It's only the divine can decipher that. The real spiritual, the adhyatmic meaning is that you have to become naked. It means you have to give up your ego, arrogance, the I, me, minus everything and surrender to him with humility and humbleness, with absolute faith and complete surrender, giving up your ego. That is what the word naked describes. It is not physically naked. It is about first giving up everything which your mind is carrying, all the kanchukas, your tendencies, inherent nature, everything. You have to just surrender at his feet. Does that surrender ever happen? Absolutely not. So in this lesson which I was learning, it is said that a disciple, when they go through the journey under the master, what happens is they bring their all the good and like the, the positive, the strength and the inadequacies, and then they reflect it on the Guru. They pull it on the God, and then we believe that is what the Guru is doing to us. It is our own fears, everything we put it on the other person. Why are you bringing your own muck and throwing it at the feet of the Guru? Many times my Krishna Guruji will say this, are you bringing all that cow dung and putting it at my feet? Why are you throwing your mind's muck at my feet? Don't bring that. Come with the open mind. Surrender to me. Let go of everything of your past. So we bring that and throw it at the feet of the God. And then what happens? The God is going to reflect that only, because that is exactly what you want to see. But does it mean the God, there is any defect in the God? No, the defect is in you, in your eyes, in yourself. Because you have come from that gutter, from that muck. And you want to put that muck in somebody else. No, He's pure being. You have to let go of your inadequacies and everything. So we reflect our right and wrong in the divine being. And then we try to judge them. No, you're right, you're wrong. Why are we doing that? That is because that is our petty inadequacies in life. We have suffered through those situations, or we have lived in a certain way. It also is a very beautiful thing. In Lord Shri Krishna is talking about how do you sit, how do you conduct yourself, the way of life, right? We are taught about how do you speak. Communication is an art. And today we don't know how to communicate because we have never been taught. We have only been taught you have to speak nicely to everybody. You have to be a good self. But that good self doesn't happen because of our own tendencies. The environment that we have grown up in, the environment that we have come about, and what happens? We always behave, and we get influenced by people around us. The place you have worked. See, the influence is long drawn, right from the place you are born, the people you have grown up with, then the friends you had, then as you enter into college, the different sets of people you journey through that path, and then when you come into a world where you are getting into a job, then that company, the environment, again the people around you influence. So all these influences are with you, and finally when you end up meeting your Guru, you bring all that muck of yours, that cow dung, and throw it at his feet. This is exactly what we do. And then we try to judge him based on our own stupid yardstick. But what does the Guru teach? He tells first, come naked, in Krishna Guruji, in our Krishna ashram. He's a very, very beautiful rule. My Guruji will always say to everyone, the door, is always open. Please leave your ego, arrogance and chappal outside the door and then come in. Don't bring your baggage. Come with the open mind to learn. Because you have no knowledge. The one who gives knowledge is the Guru, the God alone. So what makes you think you know too much? And please remember, the knowledge that you think you have gathered has zero value. Because one, we have not even applied. We have not even learned in the right manner. So right knowledge is not existing. And then the application of knowledge has never happened because we have not used it at all. We don't even know how to apply the knowledge that we have acquired. That is the kind of life we have been leading. So when you come to the master, don't waste his time with your crap, the questions that you ask, with the utter nonsensical stuff that you bring in, and try to keep questioning the same thing over and over again. If you don't have faith, please get out. That's exactly what my Guruji will say. The door is open, you can please walk out. Nobody has invited you. You know what? To be studying under the tutelage of such a great master itself is a boon. But we don't value that. We try to bring our own inadequacies and waste time talking dime a dozen nonsense. We waste our time, not our time, his time, most important, the precious time in which we could have learnt a lot. Instead of that, we talk our minds, the muck that is there, like the pig which is rolling in the muck, that mire is there in our mind. We're rolling in that. We're eating it and enjoying that. And then we put that at the feet of the Guru. This is what we do. So that is the things that you have to avoid. Until you don't understand this truth, you're never going to learn at all. So don't put the right and the wrong on the master. Don't bring your experiences and judge the master. And there are people, sometimes they have not been exposed to different things. And then not having that knowledge, you try to judge and try to question the world. Don't do that. First come and learn. Everybody has to go through their journey in their own way. My journey versus another person's journey is not the same. We are at different levels, and everybody's journey is individual. God is to each his own. And please remember, what you experience God in your own way cannot be experienced by another person. So don't judge somebody else for their devotion, and don't try to, say yours is the only way or somebody is the only way. Everybody has their own way of worshipping or associating with God. So, and don't use your petty mind to try to, question somebody else's experience. You can't even fathom that, because they have journeyed that path, they have gone through that, and they have understood God in a different capacity. It is their passion of how they want to experience. So everybody's effort shows in the way they experience God. How much of effort do you put? See, God is, that's why we say it's self-realization. Now, God reveals itself to you when you become this beautiful, pure being. And that is self-realization. This, you have to understand it yourself. Nobody else can understand it for you. Please remember. So your journey is your journey. So keep it to yourself. Don't bring that and try to say that is the best. Don't bring. And you got to learn. And see, exposure depends on every individual. The amount of exposure they have in this world, or the knowledge that you get. But how much effort you put to getting that knowledge is purely rests with you alone. That's exactly what my Krishna Guruji tells. Today, we don't want to make that effort. Nobody goes and learns what is happening in the world the way my Guruji does. He's the master of all knowledge. I mean, you ask him anything about any subject, he will give you an in-depth understanding of that subject. It's phenomenal. I just get, I get shocked listening to his intense understanding about any subject. Obviously, I'm not capable in that capacity. It's not capability. It's like I've never tried. I've never made an effort to learn so much. But he's passionate about it. Again, passionate in the sense dispassionately. When I say passion, his passion is only to study. He studies voraciously. Even today, after doing so much, 8 hours in a day, my Guruji sits and reads and gains knowledge. And that's the beauty. But that is who he is known for. He is Satchidanand. Knowledge, that is truth, knowledge and bliss. But obviously, you can only take that goodness from him and become the best version of yourself. You don't have to become somebody else. You always have to become the best version of yourself. Who I was yesterday to who I am today to who I can be tomorrow. That is what you have to aspire. So don't try to compare yourself with another being. Most important. And then what happens? You have to, without contemplation, he can have no peace. And how can there be happiness for one lacking peace of mind? See, the peace of mind, lacking peace of mind is because we are going through a lot of things within ourselves. Pairs of opposites, comparisons, our right and wrong. We are taking all that and putting at the feet of the God, and we are judging him also. We don't even have humility to get that knowledge. So contemplation, why will it happen? Because we are not allowing our mind and senses to be controlled. We are not controlling it. We are constantly going in that muck and enjoying ourselves in that muck of ours and others too. So don't waste your time. Learn to ignore. One thing my Guruji will always teach us is become nirlajjam sadasukhi. It doesn't matter what other people talk about you. Why should it make any difference? One beautiful lesson which my Guruji has always taught. If somebody praises you, think that they're, talking all sorts of bad things about you, insulting you. And say, do Krishna Arpan to that. And if somebody is, talking bad about you, think they're saying all the sweetest things about you. And this way, you will be able to overcome that. Then you're not going to react to what people say about you. Because we get attached to this body. See, somebody is looking at and telling to whom this body they are looking at, and they are making judgments and saying you're like this, you're like that. But that body has no value. I am not this body, so how does it matter? Somebody is just telling something about this body. Does it mean, I become that? No, I don't. It is that person's mind's gutter. How does it matter? I am pure. I am that spirit. I am this divine being. I am that Paramatma. I am that Devi. That is what the conviction you need to have. I am not this body. I am Sri Krishna. I am the Sri. I am that Krishna Kali. That is what has to be. And that knowledge should not, you should not forget that knowledge. And if you can't do that, then it becomes very difficult. Then you're going to react to everything around you. And that is what he's talking about, the pairs of opposites. And how do you overcome all of that? The oneness of the mind, or the oneness with the God will not happen until the moment you don't exercise the most important thing is about self-control. And it's about controlling the mind and the senses so that you have a determinate intellect which will then contemplate on what is being taught to you and then you will be able to achieve peace of mind. And most important, and if you don't have peace of mind, how can you ever be happy? And happiness doesn't exist. So one who is lacking peace of mind, for him there is no happiness of mind. See, we're not, the word happiness, I will again say, it's a state of mind, right? You have to be cheerful in your mind. You need to be feeling good about it. It's not about feeling gloomy, feeling miserable, and then you're never going to be 100% productive. Your productivity is always going to fail. But what is most important? You have to be in that blissful state, in that oneness. Like Satchidanand, aspire to be in that state alone. I hope you understood this lesson. It's a very important lesson. I gave you how it works in our world. And this is the same in the material world as well. I just gave a spiritual context, okay? But even as a normal human being, you go through this day in and day out. But if you were to just practice what Lord Shri Krishna is teaching, you will be able to become a very good human being. You will become happy within yourself. You will have peace with yourself. We always say, I need to find peace within myself. I want to feel happy. You know, this is the words we use in a normal existence. But to even achieve that, you still have to understand these lessons and apply. But if you don't, you're always going to be suffering. You're going to become miserable. That is what Lord Shri Krishna has explained to Arjuna. With that, we'll end here today's satsang. We'll see you in the next satsang. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita satsang, the way of life, as imparted by Lord Shri Krishna. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Guru Nathanataya Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum.